Hey everyone, welcome back. Network Field Day 33, Day 2. Our next presenter in the day was Fortinet, and we went on a bit of a journey with Fortinet. So the start of the presentation was about their SASE offering. So SASE is, if you're not familiar with it, SASE, it's Secure Access Service Edge, and we're just talking about essentially delivering security services through an SD-WAN into cloud native locations, and you start to just build like this really client edge secured path through your network, more or less. I'm probably not doing it full justice, but where we started with Fortinet was talking about their SD-WAN offering. And there are some things within their presentation that they called out that they're absolutely 100% correct. So when we started talking, correct, there wasn't anything in there that was incorrect. Things that I identify with. So we talked a lot about how network infrastructures, but how much more complex they're getting, and it's not just necessarily from a build out standpoint, like you have this many more sites, or you have um, this much of diversity in your networking gear. Like you've got 6 different vendors in play just for your switching platform. It's really more about the services that your end users are consuming and trying to secure the way that they access all of those different offerings. It gets out of control. It gets very unwieldy. And that's what Fortinet was really talking about within here, is what their offering looks like for that SASE, for that protection, for that platform. So anytime that you hear a conversation from Fortinet, one thing that you're going to hear from them is that they have a common or the same core operating system. And so I've never, well, I should take it. It's been a long time since I've used Fortinet. Like there are some FortiGates way, way, way in the past that I had used, smaller Soho type things, small business type things. Definitely not the platform that they have today. But they do talk a lot about this one OS, the single operating system that they use. And at a point, I paused them to ask the question that anytime I hear somebody saying there's a single operating system driving their entire platform, it makes me think of another network vendor that at one point in time had a single image, more or less, to rule them all. And it wasn't really the case. It was more like 3 images to rule them all. And it sort of collapsed after, I don't remember how many years that lasted. But when I hear Fortinet saying, oh, well, they've got a single operating system, I had to ask more about it. And really what it boiled down to is there's a single common core, not like new math common core, but like the core of their platform is this common base. It's a common operating system for which they build everything on top of it. So it's not the same firmware. I don't know exactly how many different platforms or form factors they have, or how many different images that they maintain, but all of those images, all of those platforms have the common operating system. And then whatever the platform is built on top of that. Because one thing I was really curious to hear, and this is obviously their vantage point, is why does Fortinet keep satisfying its customers in the way that they do? So if Cisco is kind of the incumbent, we'll go with firewalls here, and that Palo Alto kind of became the successor for people who just Cisco ended up not being the right fit, let's say for the next gen firewall type stuff, how has Fortinet become where people are going to next? And one of the things that they pointed to was the stability in the platform, and that it comes back to this one operating system, the one OS, which I think I kind of understood because they said essentially that, well, that operating system needs to be so stable because it drives our entire platform. Okay, I can see some logic behind that. As we went through some of the demos, it seems like it's relatively easy to interface with. They did mention that they're going through some redesigns right now to make it easier. Now, again, I've never used it. However, coming from Cisco ASAs, like before the next gen firewalls, to Palo, that was a breath of fresh. Well, it was a breath of fresh air. There was some feature loss in there, but anyway. But then looking at the FortiGate stuff, it seemed similar in the sense that it was maybe even a little bit easier to configure Palo, but then you tie the entire platform that Fortinet has behind everything. And maybe there's enough in there that if you have a good platform that can tie that many different products together, that it can help, I mean, really help teams just do more faster because you're doing it all in the same place. I'm completely sidetracked right now. The second part of the conversation really had more to do with the SASE offering, and they stepped through it, and I'm gonna say it was relatively straightforward. Just in terms of like, okay, you have a policy and you can push the policy to wherever you need to push the policy. You have a really good software agent that runs on a laptop. And if you don't want the software agent on a laptop, then you send somebody home with a little device and you have the same policies going in there. It's like, okay, that's great. There are a few other things in there for the SASE solution that got into their POPs. So if you're using that SASE and you're coming back to a secured environment, you're coming through into a different environment, that they have global placement so that the client, either on your machine or, like I said, the individual box, like it has multiple places that it can go to take the best path, or if there's a down path, take a better path. And I touched a little bit on the security as well that was built into it. So, I mean, overall, it was a pretty good presentation. I think I would almost need to go back and somehow consume their conversation with smaller bites because it was a lot. So maybe try and find some of those individual conversations and just pull them out individually to help me understand the broader picture. Because SASE, again, it's not something that I've worked with specifically. Elements of it, I definitely have, but it seems like it's a pretty good platform. I would encourage you to go back and watch the video once it comes out, and obviously always make your own decisions out of there. But yeah, overall, it was a good presentation from Fortinet. Hopefully get to see them again in the future, and maybe some chunk up the conversation a little bit more to make it easier to, at least for me, to absorb and paint that fuller picture. But that was Fortinet, Network Field Day 33, Day 2. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.